Hey guys, it's your girl Kizzy Rock, and yes, Kizzy Rock is my birth given name. Happy Tuesday afternoon. I want to say hey to all my subscribers, new as well as seasoned. I got a word for you. Tap in. Happy Tuesday afternoon, guys. Currently driving, so please bear with me with all this background noise. I want to talk to you guys about a couple of things. One is an email response, and then the other is I forgot what it's about. So a couple of days ago, I said something on the community post in reference to the process being very difficult, and not what we expected it to be. And then my good sis Ify commented, and she said something in reference to the process not being pretty. Like it's dirty. It's like the process is dirty. So it's almost like, and then someone emailed me and asked me, what is the process? What is it for? Why must we go through it? Well, here's the thing. The process is just simply, okay, whatever God has promised you, wherever God is taking you, right? Your destiny season, your due season, all this good stuff. You got to be prepared for it. Because you are not prepared to handle where God is taking you. Where God is taking you is massive. So he has to literally prepare you for that thing. And just depending on you, your life, what you've been exposed to, things like that, you may have to unlearn a lot of things. Where some people can just be taught. But then some people have to unlearn unhealthy habits that were taught, they were conditioned, maybe things they pick up along the way. Then God have to prune you and then transform you, etc., etc. Where someone else, again, may just have to go through not so much transformation, if you will, but they do have to be teachable to allow God to prepare them. So that can look like examples of if God has promised you a business, right? You may have never have anyone in your family to own a business. So God have to really teach you, because you may assume you can just learn about business on a local level, which is great, but you really don't know where God is taking you. So you assume, because of the caps we put on ourselves, that it just may be a small business, where in fact you may be running a multi-million-dollar business. So God have to prepare you. He have to expand your mindset to be able to even receive that that's what he want to do in your life. So he increases our capacity to receive, right? Many times we don't feel worthy of the blessings that God has promised us. So God have to really work on our worthiness. God have to teach us to see ourselves the way he sees us. He may have to work on some traumas, some broken hearts, etc., etc. If you're waiting on, or if God have promised you a spouse, a husband or a wife, you got to be transformed for that, because a lot of people have this mindset that they can move the way they move in relationships, or they can move the way they move when they were in a toxic marriage prior to a healthy whole marriage. And I said this in a recording before, I really don't think some people really get the whole concept on what a kingdom marriage or a kingdom partnership is really about. You can't move the way you think you can move. So you might want to pump your brakes and stop being so desperate, because when you get up in that thing, you're going to realize that it's really not what you think. So that then God have to really work on your discipline, right? You may be a person who move a certain kind of way. Nobody gonna tell me what I gotta do. Listen, that you not in that kind of marriage that you asking God for, right? Or you might be a dude who's used to moving a certain kind of way too, and like maybe your ex just let you do what you want to do, right? And maybe nobody ever really held you accountable. Where the wife that God is going to send to you, listen, it's ministry, it's work, it's building together, she's gonna be whole. So you're not about to play with me all kind of way, sir. You're not about to play with me all kind of way, sir. Right? I don't know what your exes had going on, but obviously they didn't know who they were. We ain't playing those games. I will leave you tomorrow. I will leave you right now. Period. So it's so many things. It's so many things that we have to be prepared for, and the process seems so long, and it seems so drawn out, and it seemed like God is just, I guess some people feel like God is punishing them, when in fact God is looking out for you. He is pruning you, he is teaching you, he's conditioning you, He's putting examples right in front of your face to show you that a lot of the things that you were taught, maybe some things that you just, mindsets, like that's not it. You can't move like you used to move. You just can't. So what I feel and I was speaking about in the comment section is, listen, we be talking about process and it sounds so cute, like, oh, I'm going to go through a process, I'm going to get processed for such and such, and we'd be thinking like, oh, we're going to just go ahead and get our skin care, and child please child please, that process is dirty, that process is hard, that process is sacrifice, that process is major discipline, because now you're accountable to God. So you it's not like you just accountable to a mentor or a best friend and or this and that, which you still need to, you're right, you still want to respect people who you're accountable to, but it's different. It's different when God is requiring it. So that discipline, that sacrifice ain't no joke. Matter of fact, you heard my phone going off now. I just had to literally decline dinner that I had already gotten prepared for tonight. I got to go home. I got to go home. I'm going home. So, let me just tell you, honey. So I say all that to say, Kizzy, you know what? I'm tripping. I promise you, I'm tripping. I'm tripping. I passed my whole exit. I'm probably like 2 miles past my exit. Oh my goodness gracious, it's cool. But anyway, sometimes we ask for things and we just don't know what we're asking for. We're asking for things ignorantly, and ignorantly is not a bad word. That just means you just don't know. Like some people are asking for more. Let's see, here's the thing. The more things that God calls you to steward, the more disciplined you have to be, the more stressed you're going to be. And the average person, not in a bad way, meaning just people who just not, they don't get it. They don't get it, right? They think you're anal, they think you're this, they think you're this, right? The more you ask God for, the more you have to steward these things. And with stewardship, God is, listen, with stewardship, God is looking at you with a magnifying glass, like seriously. Like, you got to move from a spirit of excellence. That don't mean you're perfect, but that just really means that when God convicts you, you better get back to whatever it is, get back on point, because God will snatch you right on back, right? Because you asked for these things, so you need to monitor these things correctly, or you asked for it, so you need to be great. You need to be grateful. Don't mess around and lose your job and then want to call somebody back, if you're listening, right? Call somebody back crying for your job when it's important to recognize and appreciate what God have blessed you with, when at some point you were crying to get a job because you didn't have one. Then God give you a job and you wouldn't even do the right thing. Now you lose a job, and it's like, many times when that happens, because see what God will do is when God is reprocessing you, God will use people to keep convicting you and pouring into you. Like, you may not really have the full capacity yet to understand how God watches an increase and how gratitude is so important, etc., etc. So God will use the person to help you to understand that. It's going to be your job to receive that. Like, okay, you know what? I need to really get on point because I've been slacking, like seriously. I've been slacking. This person obviously have climbed some levels, so I need to listen. But most people won't do that. Most people think they know everything and they ain't got a pot to piss in. But then they want to come up against the people who have really climbed some levels. But when you mess around and make your head hard like that, and I've seen it a lot, and God give you chance after chance after chance to do the right thing and really to be grateful and appreciative for the things He's blessed you with, and you've made your head hard one too many times, God will snatch it back. Not only will He snatch it from you, He'll throw you in a dry season. He will throw you in a dry season. You will be in a drought. And I bet the next time you when you come out that drought, the next time God decides to open up a door to bless you with a job, right? A job that you actually like and not just having to work because you need a job. I bet you will respect it and appreciate it going forward. So ultimately, that process is extremely difficult. But the further you get into the process, it becomes easier, because it's more easy to submit to, because you know what God is doing and why it has to be done. Right? It has to be done. What was the second thing I was supposed to talk about? It was the process of things. And then it was, someone asked me, one of my good sis emailed me and asked me what were my thoughts on 50-50. I guess, what all this camaraderie and foolishness with all these quote unquote relationship gurus and all this nonsense, right? They got all this stuff going on. I don't even get lost in the sauce with that nonsense, because you already know, if you know me, I march to the beat of my own drum. I don't move with the masses. I don't even sit there and listen to all that nonsense. Some of y'all have to be careful listening to that stuff anyway, because people say things, and because you might already be dealing with some issues, maybe some self-esteem issues, that stuff, you got to be careful what gets into your spirit. Half of the stuff is lies anyway, but you got to be careful to what gets in your spirit. If you're sitting down all day long listening to a person tell you how horrible you are, how you don't got choices out here, and honey, you got choices every day of the week, point blank, period, right? You sit there and that stuff just piles into your spirit. Ciao. Okay, so here's my... she also wanted to know my thoughts on... It was prenups, the 50-50 rule, and something like that. So I'm going to kind of summarize. Let's start with prenups. I don't have a problem with prenups. I really don't. I don't have a problem with prenups. I really don't. In fact, I think it's wise. Unless you guys have been together for a very long time, and I'm talking about 20, 30 years, like y'all got it from the mud together, like seriously, then I think it should be 50-50 or whatever they work it out when you consider the kids and stuff like that. I think it's very unfair if you've been married for 5 years and you came in there with a paper bag and the other person was very successful. I think it's very unfair to try to take half of everything they built prior to you. No. I do think it has to be somewhere in some fine lines that, okay, well, we have children within this, then X, Y, and Z. Or if he wants you to be a stay-at-home mom and you can't make your own money, then it needs to be some kind of clause, because it needs to be fair. It needs to be fair. But I'm one of the few women who feel like man or woman. No, I think it's not cool to try to take something a person worked for prior to you. That's my opinion. My opinion on prenups. I don't have a problem with prenups. Again, it needs to be some clauses in there depending on what's going on, right? With an agreement with both people. It is what it is. If it doesn't work out, I'm good, you're good. Period. 50-50. Okay. Being a perspective thing, I have to hit this from a couple of different angles. If the gentleman, speak from a woman's point of view, right? If the gentleman is wealthy, right? And I'm not saying he has to be wealthy. I'm just speaking in general. If he's wealthy, then I feel like he should carry the load. I feel like the gentleman is, if he's not wealthy, but he still can carry the bulk of the bills, like the major bills, like the mortgage, things like that. I personally don't think it's anything wrong with paying like light and water, maybe even insurance, the smaller bills. Because here's why. This is me. I don't need none of y'all rising up against me, ladies, because I already know how y'all can be. This is me. Do what you do. I'm speaking about me. She asked my opinion. And you, please chime in your opinion in the comment section, but please just don't try to change my opinion, because I won't try to change yours. But I'm a woman. I don't believe in trying to put all that kind of pressure on my man. Meaning, if he's already working hard, let's say this guy is a guy who works at like a steel mill or something, right? So he's in his 100 and whatever degree weather, right? Messing with oil, whatever they do, oil and welding and all that stuff. And the money he's bringing home is truly covering, like he's really taking care of the household, seriously. Rent, all that stuff. We don't have to worry about nothing. Everything's good. Mortgage, rent, everything's good. And let's just say, for example, he might have $100 left out of his check. I'll just say $100 after paying, all the... I would not want to take that $100 when I can pay the light bill and the water bill or whatever else is being called. I don't want to just take that $100 for him. Like, some people are just very selfish and greedy. I'm just not that person. I look at it like, listen, he's holding everything down, like he's running the household very well. Like, let me try to help take this pressure up off of him on the things that I can do myself to help him when I already see what he's doing. But some people truly are just very selfish. Like, you can see a person struggling and trying, and not only will the person be selfish, they will put more pressure on the person. Like, oh, well, I want this, I want this, I want this, and this and that. And you see, like, but this also depends on the type of woman that men are choosing, right? This chick was a gold digger from the very first or second date. So you thought because it was just the first or second date, that wouldn't continue. And now you done been with her for a period of time. You done used to her. So now, you're complaining about, she want money, she didn't want to work, but you knew that from the jump, sir. So no, I don't have a problem. I don't have a problem with assisting, but I don't think a woman should be paying. Some women will feel like she shouldn't pay anything at all. Right? Her money should be her money. That's fine. I mean, I wouldn't disagree with that, especially again if he got it. If he got it like that, then because it's not really hurting him like that. But if he's not wealthy, right? I don't have a problem paying smaller bills, but I'm not paying no major bills. I mean, I'd rather just live in my own house if that's the case. Now, granted, perspective, if he happened to have a down season, like he'd been holding everything down for the longest and something happened, COVID happened, he lost the business, but yet my business is still going on. No, I'm holding my man down. You said what you want to say. I'm holding my man down because I know he getting back up. He gonna get back up. Right? But that's for a period. That's for, so there's so many different perspectives that you got to look at it and see it from. So that's my thought on 50-50. She also wanted to know too, if should a woman still work if a man says she didn't have to, like if he's taking care of her, should she still work? I think yes. Okay, let me explain. Even if she's not working, right? Now, this is a proven man. Now, this ain't no man you just met last year. This is a man who have proven himself that he just ain't gonna start acting crazy when you have to depend on him, because that happens a lot, right? So let's say she doesn't want to work. I think it's still very, very important for her to keep up with certain credentials. Even take maybe like online courses where she want to keep. She needs to be keeping something up with herself because it's life. He don't have to cheat. He can, Lord forbid, pass away, right? You still got to be solid, with or without him. So I don't think there's anything wrong with not working, but it depends on the woman. Like me personally, I've never not worked. I've worked since I've been 16 years. When the day I turned 16, I was determined to get a job, and I got my job at McDonald's at 16 years old. The very day I said I was going to get it, I got it. And I've never, ever not worked since. Never, ever not worked. So I'm used to working. So I've been in a relationship where I had unlimited credit card. Unlimited. And I still worked. So it just really depends on the situation. It depends on the woman. I know women, even personally, who have never worked, and sadly, the way that the guy treats them, I mean, even after years and years and years of marriage, like, I mean, the dude is straight dogging them, but because they've never worked a day in their life, they don't even know where to start. They've never worked, ever. They don't have that experience, and so yeah. So I think it's cool if a woman wants to stay home and don't work. I think that's fine. I got to be doing something. If she's not working, she need to at least be in her purpose, because you're going to drive that man crazy, right? You can drive him crazy. You can drive yourself crazy if you're not working or in your purpose somewhere, or somewhere keeping up with your credentials, or taking online courses to be sure like you're up to date. If something happens, you can still carry yourself. You know what I mean? So that's my thoughts. Again, I'm cut from a different cloth. I know I really don't think like the average woman, which is absolutely fine. I really don't care. But I'm just not in the business to drag and use and abuse men. I got brothers, you know what I mean? So that's not how I am. I've never, ever been that way. And I'm saying that on a public platform. But I'm not paying no major bills, period. It's your girl, Kizzy Rock.